Okay, we'll find 185, I think. Probably. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 185. Not the point. Point is, at this point, I shouldn't be surprised, but yet I am upset. Okay, well, hold that thought. It's about The Witcher, but that's my point. I will talk about that later, maybe. We'll see. But I wanted to say that I was scrolling through YouTube and I had to saw a video for Unus Annus. And I was so confused because I was like, oh right, that whole year happened. And I'm like, and I'm still watching a video of it just because it happened half a year ago. But my brain was like, that was very a thing, like daily. And it just is like, it's no longer, oh, no more episodes, you know, it's no longer, oh, I wish they kept doing it, or oh, I wish there were more, or it kind of weirdly, and give it, other people are still doing things too. Like, I know that one person makes art for every single day, and I'm like, yeah, it was half a year ago. People are still doing stuff with it, but at the same time, it's not everything, you know? And even just like the algorithm is like, okay, well, no one's clicking on these things because people don't watch clips and blah blah. So I guess it's not gonna recommend it either. But the fact that it's like, well, there's no more edits, there's no new edits because no one can, because the videos are gone. Even if I wanted a particular edit, like if I had a moment, I'm like, oh, I want to edit that, I can't. I just can't. And the fact that you can't get it to make the things you want, even if those things would technically be fine to keep up, you can't do it anymore because you don't have the original source. And it's kind of interesting because it kind of really highlights the internet lifespan that exists, because like the lifespan of the internet, it's a really odd thing, because like I mentioned before with like inauguration day, god, that felt like a lifetime ago, but it was only 5 months. Yeah, you know, and that happened in January, and the fact that it only happened, like, but it felt like such a long time ago. Not as like in real life too, but like if I put a freaking Bernie Sanders video or Bernie Sanders meme of him in mittens, people would be like, that's so old. And it's like, yeah, it is. You know, the internet moves on, it continuously moves on. There's some things that kind of become a meme or a meme format and then instantly disappear, like within a couple days. And this idea of just having it like already done, like, and so the idea that a year's worth, given a few months of not really doing things besides being at a computer, but a whole year of content is no longer the recommended. And it was really interesting because somebody, and I mention it a lot, but like I think of her, Jenna Marbles, somebody, like 2 people mentioned Jenna Marbles recently, and she stopped making videos a year ago, and I think people are kind of like, she really isn't coming back, and at least not for a while. It's not like a few months off or a year off. It's stepping away. We're done. You know, like we'll figure it out. And the idea that she stepped away and then the recommendations still kind of push her, but essentially her click rate to YouTube, she's dead. Her channel's dead, which is a very interesting thing because I saw another post, and I think I saw it a while ago, but somebody mentioned kind of ghosts in video games, and it was about how this guy, he got his old game that his dad used to play, and the dad died, but the dad had the fastest race on record, like in the game, that particular game save file. So his dad's race, he was racing his dad, even though the dad died 10 years ago. And it's kind of this weird, like, okay, it's a ghost. And there's also this thing where I was trying to look up one particular person, because I watched someone play the GTA No Pixel roleplay, GTA 5 roleplay server thing. I wanted to look up one person because obviously I don't love everybody, and I only watch people I like. So I wanted to look up who this person was, and I was trying to look them up, but I didn't know what their character name was, and obviously I didn't know who played them. They were there for a very short amount of time, and I'm trying to look them up, and they're like, oh, this is a really good article, and they tried to give me this article. Click on it, even though I knew it wasn't the right thing, and it was about how a streamer died from from something, and they didn't really like putting why, which is totally fine. I think it was an illness, but that's not the point. And this person died, but it was so messed up, and on one hand, kind of, it's grim. It's very grim, because when I clicked in to who they played, it's like played by this, and it was a link, and I was hoping this link would tell me a little bit about them, but I click it and it brought me to their Twitch channel. That it was dead. It was grim. It was like a graveyard, because it said last streamed a month ago, and it said those articles, yeah, they stopped streaming because they died. And the idea that this person's Twitter is still up, Twitch is still up, YouTube is still up, and not saying that it had to be taken down, obviously, but the idea that it's abandoned, it's not closed, there's no closure. You can't lock a YouTube channel. You can't do it. You can delete it like they did, completely gone, but you can't have it up and locked. You can only never log in again. And the idea that there's that, that's it, like that's all you do. So this person's channel will continually be just up, and at any second you technically could log in and do whatever you want. Like if this person for some reason was here, they could. And just the fact that it was like a gravesite, it was very like going into a house and just being like, everything looks right, but it's, especially since it's not dusty yet, you know what I'm saying? Like if you go into a house and you're like, oh, it's really dusty, it's abandoned for a while. But, and so if you go to like a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel and it's like, oh, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, okay. But you walk in and it's a month ago. It's like there's a little bit of mail outside, like just enough to be like, and that's enough to be like, is anyone here? And if you don't know that you're looking for it, you might not even see it. If I went to that person's channel without knowing, from like a different link, without knowing this article, I'd be like, okay, cool, they just haven't streamed yet. Or in a while, maybe they're taking a break. The fact that it was this eeriness exists. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, it was I don't know. It's very, very eerie feeling. This happens with a lot of like things where it feels so empty, despite just being a website or a game or whatever it is. It has this feeling, you know? And this happened with a different YouTuber as well, where somebody was saying that, oh, my dear friend, and like talked about them, and I kind of knew them, and I looked, and it's like, yeah, you can't, no one can say anything or do anything. You don't have a closing video, you don't have a, okay, I'm leaving, goodbye. Jenna has this wrap up, but the fact that these other channels, on different websites, just they're not closed, you know? And I think that's what's really weird and kind of an interesting thing too, is in Facebook, I think you can mark that person, if you log in, mark them as dead. And it's a very odd thing that you can do. That how long after my sibling dies that I should log in and mark them as dead? How long would that, you know, it's just such a horrible thing, because I think even after marked as dead, people can at them. So this one person, he was very, very young, he was in middle school, I was in maybe first year of high school, and somebody I knew my age, a year younger, like one grade younger than me, knew this guy, and he died in a fire. And I went to, because I saw a bunch of like they added him, and it's like, you know, rest in peace, blah blah, and I click on it, and his page said a bunch of mentions, and then just his, and it was very gross. It was kind of gross because I hate Facebook. It was this Facebook blue kind of thing where it was just literally a tombstone. It was a tombstone that said pretty much RIP, and then the name, and then the dates. And it was a very horrific idea, because not only are people saying like this person died, the idea that, you know, it was a very weird thing. I think what the gross part was the Facebook part, but the wrapping it up and marking it as such, and it's a very interesting thing, because I do know a lot of Facebook accounts just do go inactive, where, you know, I know many people, and it kind of became a thing where you would have your Facebook account from when you were like 13, and then when you get older you'd be like, new one, and you would just get rid of the other one. And by get rid of on Facebook, I mean just become inactive. You can't close it. You can't permanently delete it in the same way. At least you used to. I don't know. Maybe you can. It was a very, very odd thing. So the fact that like Unus Annus, yes, it's all deleted. So YouTube can't try to promote it. It doesn't have any click-through rates, which I think people would probably be rewatching every episode for a year. I mean, I would prefer that at this point. I'm just gonna be real. I would prefer it. But that's not the point. The point is, people would be clicking on it. But the fact that because it got taken down and not just inactive, it's just a little different. But the fact that, you know, like Jenna Marbles is just inactive, yet it wasn't being promoted the same way. And the idea that I don't know, it's a very interesting thing, and it's a very odd and modern thing that we have, where just it's a very odd. Anyways, with The Witcher, pretty much what it is there was a fight scene, and Yennefer was freaking the strongest, being the strongest witch out there. Like, she is just killing it. She is beating up Geralt. She is fighting a djinn. She is, this is spoilers, by the way, spoiler warning. She's fighting the djinn. She's fighting Geralt. She's doing this. She's doing that. She's really doing it all. The people are like, you can't trap them. And I'm like, she got him pretty good. I'm just gonna say it. So the idea that she's being really shown as this really powerful witch, and I should have known, but I'm still disappointed. I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed, because she decided to elbow Geralt, and apparently in her tight black dress, it said a shapely breast popped out. Later on, it does say both her breasts were out. I don't know when in the fight that must have happened. But remember, after one of her boobs pop out, Geralt had to hide his face in her openly exposed breasts. Why? Why do we need to write things that are bad? Like, I'll give it, I know there's a really, really bad ones out there, and I know it's also hard to tell because there's really bad ones, like really bad written women in books and movies, especially with the badly written women in books. And then there's like the satire ones, and then there's a really extreme satire ones where you're like, oh, that's satire. But there's like a level where you might not know between satire and just really bad. And then, but he's on the list in some of these because not digging it. And the fact that he continued it, I was kind of hoping it would be fixed, because oh my god, it would have been so good. And I don't want to take away credit. Maybe he knew what he was doing, maybe. But they mention how Yennefer is suicidal going again. Like, they use the word suicidal again, trying to go again. Like, it's suicide trying to go against this djinn, you know. You're just gonna die. It's not worth it. You can do so much more later, blah, 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 blah. And then Dandelion says the same thing about Geralt, being like, Geralt, why did you go? Well, he wasn't physically there, but Dandelion's like, why did Geralt go? He literally could be doing so much more later. And I'm like, this is suicidal. But I just don't think they're played in the same way. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would so hope to be wrong here. But I really do hope the author realized. Again, I only read the first book. I played none of the games, which aren't canon anyways, and I'd watched none of the TV shows, which are different canon anyways. But I only read the first one. But it's just like, do you know that you're comparing these two so heavily? And that also being said, they're comparing the two, but Geralt's always played in the right with a lot of things, because he's the perfect in-between guy. He's not too extreme, but he sacrificed himself to save someone, versus Yennefer, who's self-sacrificing for her own, possibly her own gain, and could be hurting other people. So, but you could have really just made it a really good characterization to be like, maybe we should learn from each other, you know? But, you know, women characters aren't real characters in a lot of people's eyes. They're just added there for the male's plot.